Welcome to a special episode of On the Capo podcast. I am your host David, and alongside yours truly, as twice a year already, it's becoming a tradition. We have our good friend Taylor Williams from Orlando City, UK. How you doing, Taylor?
Good, David. Good. Yeah. It's a bye week, so I should probably be relaxing and not talking Orlando City, having a proper detox. But I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself. So
For
I
sure.
wanted to. I wanted to rant.
Yeah, let me adjust the camera here so the less of the fan is hot as molasses right now in Florida. Taylor and I were discussing that. This is gonna be an interesting special episodes because for conflict of timing at the end, our good friend Dan of the English line cannot join us, but he will be doing that next Sunday. So it's like a bookend, two perspectives before and after our 17th game of the season, which means halfway point. And when Taylor and Dan come, as you guys know, is always beginning of the season, mid-season, at the end of the season, so we can sort of get their perspective on where we are as a club. As you guys know, to make a brief introduction before setting Taylor loose, we at this point are mid season, and we are not in a good place. We are 11th of 15 in the East, 22nd out of 29 in the league. We have played 16 games. We have 4 wins, 7 losses, matching our loss total from last year, 5 draws. We have 16 goals for, 24 against for a negative 8 goal differential. At home, an abysmal record: 1 victory, 4 losses, 3 ties. Away, 3 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. 6 points at home, 11 points on the road. In 2023, we finished second in the league, second in the East, with 63 points altogether, 18 wins, 7 losses, 9 draws, 55 goals for, 39 goals against, 16 goals, the goal differential, a record at home of 9 wins, 3 losses, 5 ties, away 9 wins, 4 losses, 4 ties. That's for 32 and 31 points apiece. Some people say that everything is fine, that the comeback is about to come. I want to be clear on the Pareja perspective. I spoke with Pareja. He bear hugged me. He told me, "Hey, listen, I want to lead a fan base that believe that we can do big things, and we're gonna give them reasons why." So I left very hopeful. The experts were placing us as favorites for Supporter Shield and MLS Cup winners. Unfortunately, none of that has materialized, and I finished with the fact that with 7 players on international duty, that does not reflect the quality of the team and the positioning at the moment. Last home game was against the current champions, which we lost at home. And we return after a bye week this week to face LAFC, a dangerous team, 2022 champion and finalist or sub champion in 2023. Taylor, the mic is yours, my friend.
Oh man, you've depressed me. Like I said, I should have been relaxing this weekend before getting back to it, but couldn't help myself, as I say. We used to talk about a summertime sadness. 2024 has just been sadness out the gate. I think this the saddest indictment I can give right now. And I was really looking forward to having this chat tonight because the saddest indictment I can give right now. I mean, if you've followed me over the years, yeah, you know how much I'm into Orlando City. I live and breathe it. But I was really ready to have a break, honestly. Watching this team the past couple of months, it's been really rough. It's been really rough. It's reminded me of the first couple of years in MLS, which, if you were around back then, you'll know what I'm talking about. But we had such high expectations this season, and it's been so hard to watch because we've been nowhere near the level required. And it's been boring to watch. It really has been boring to watch. Like I said, we do the play-by-plays sometimes at Orlando City, UK. I'm getting older now, so it's getting harder to stay up at night. But you'll even notice through our live commentary of the games that there's not too much to shout about. There really isn't. Obviously, all of you lot know this. You've been watching the games all season long, and the thing that's really worrying for me right now, with Major League Soccer and the format changes they did the past couple of years, you can finish literally 3/4 down the Eastern Conference and still sneak into the playoffs. I mean, we're 7 points off the automatic spots in Columbus, seventh right now. That's getting further away. If you ask me right now, even if we snuck into a wild card match, I wouldn't fancy us to even come through that. So it's really hard. I am really stumped. It's very rare that I'm lost for words. I'm still tweeting all of the time, but I have been lost for words this season. It's really shocked me how far we've fallen below expectations, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I really, really do. And yeah, I'm looking to dig deep and do the autopsy on it at the moment, but I am really struggling. Just everything that could go wrong has been going wrong. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely, my friend. And one of the things that to me surprises me the most was the recruiting. Luis Muriel was supposed to be an answer to the striker position, and I would like to talk to you real quick about the situation that happened with Duncan Maguire, because as fans of the English game, as you and I are,
Yeah.
we sort of, it's going to sound very pompous of me, because um, thanks to Steven H, I have learned a lot about the intricacies of the low end of the football pyramid and the business side of it. And, I don't follow a powerhouse, Manchester City or United or Arsenal, any of these teams. I follow a community club that is in League One, and that has, happens to be your hometown as well, and you've been to a couple of the games, and we're gonna, touch that briefly. And Duncan is this young man that is from a very rural state. We call it flyover country. It's one of those parts of the country where, unless you have business there, there's no reason to go to Nebraska. Nebraska is known for its corn. That should tell you something. But Omaha, Nebraska, is home of the Omaha Union USL League One team. For those that don't know, that's the third division here in the U.S. And it has produced a lot of talent. The greatest footballer to come out of Omaha, Nebraska is Jason Christ. That's right. Hate him or love him, he remains one of the top 10 goal scorers in MLS of all time. So Duncan comes from a university I never heard of. I gotta be honest. That he gets signed with Orlando City, he explodes. To many people, he saves Oscar Pareja's job. He places on a place that we should have never been to begin with. And the young man has the opportunity to go to Blackburn, which is ex-burb of Manchester, a club with a lot of history. From the 19th century, a club that has won the FA, I think, 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. And what happened? It's what happened to him. It's something that fiction couldn't come up with. It Hollywood could have not come up with something so outrageous. And for those that doubt what I'm about to say, there's a listener of the show that whose dog is goes to the same vet as Ricardo Moreira's dog, and he ran into Ricardo and said he flat out asked Ricardo, "Did that really happen? It was that?" And he's like, "We couldn't believe it. That's exactly what happened. Somebody hit save rather than sent, and unfortunately, the move to the English game did not happen. So we are lucky to have him here for how long, God knows." So let's start with that, Taylor. So something this unfortunate happened. It sort of damages the relationship that we have with Blackburn. I mean, again, I'm a Stevenage fan. I have no love for those guys, but the fact of the matter is that uh, taking taking that away from the 90 minutes on the pitch, football is about relationships. It's a business. You have to have good relationships, and what happened to Duncan is unfortunate. But when it comes to the striker position, I mean, we've seen how Duncan is capable of scoring, but Muriel, with his heavy price tag, 2 goals so far, none of them at home. What do we have going on? What's going on there? What's your perspective over what I just said?
I was super excited for Muriel. I hadn't followed his career closely, but he's a player I'd heard of. Watched all the highlight reels, knew, he was a prolific goal scorer where he'd been in his career. I think we're in a situation here, we was all happy that Maguire was coming back. We was like, wow, we suddenly have two prolific strikers, one who's proved himself in MLS, one who's proved himself in Europe. How exciting. But, we're all digging for what are the real reasons behind why we failed so much this season. And I think potentially the two of them never envisaged playing with each other. No one throughout the club, Ricardo, Oscar, every person was dumbfounded with what went on. You all know what went on. I got bored doing a timeline of it when it happened. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But we're in a position where we're trying to make it work. With Muriel was coming in thinking he's going to be the main guy on his own. Maguire's there. Maguire's got one eye on what his next move is. He's, got Muriel sitting on the bench like he did with Cara last season. That alone isn't the reason why we've struggled so much this season. But what I'm trying to say is these things really, really haven't helped. If you ask me, they're both very good players. We should have figured this out a long, long time ago. We're really reaching now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the midpoint of the season. I'm reaching. I just wish these guys would figure the damn thing out because we're just guessing as a supporter base. What are the things that has really messed up this season? Because I was so excited. I've watched a lot of soccer, as everyone knows. Muriel is a very good player. I know a lot of people have sent him to the scrap heap already and have given up on him. We saw at Philadelphia, he's a top player. I'm not letting him off, lightly here. I'm not giving him a free pass. We need to see it. We need to see it. Now I've watched him in an Orlando shirt, 16 games down. The guy isn't an out-and-out 9, so everyone looked at his goal scoring records, me included. But having seen the way he drops off, he's kind of like, make a poor comparison here, but the way Harry Kane plays the game, he drops off the front, and he's part of the build-up play. That's what Muriel is. But really, if Maguire is to leave this mid-season, I don't think any of us would be happy with, our 9 being someone that doesn't really play as the 9s. So this is just one factor of a whole heap of mess, that this 2024 season has been so far. But we're reaching as a fan base, but I go all the way back to that Blackburn mess in January. And it's getting to a point where I'm kind of like, Maguire saved Oscar's job last season. That's fact. I'll admit that's fact. If he moved on and, maybe we needed a clean slate where he moved on and we needed to find a way without him. But really, we're just in this in-between period at the moment where we're trying to make it work with the both of them. And let's be honest, it doesn't work. 2 games down, you could be like, oh, it's early. 5 games down, oh, they've still got to figure it out on the training field. We're a lot of games down now. And it's one of the big concerns. When he scored the brace at Philadelphia, I was relieved because he's the guy on the back of my jersey. He's the guy on the back of my legacy kit this year. All of the years, I get names on the back. I've not had a dud once, really. I've got a Hader on the home, Muriel on the away, so make your mind up. But we've not seen it beyond that. I was like, this guy, every player, especially in the striker position, needs confidence. He's not gone on from there either. So I'm really doubtful now that, he was the right guy to go after. But really what I have to say is that these guys are experienced and good enough to figure it out. And the fact they've not figured it out has left me dumbfounded, really. Like I said, we watched the games. And yeah, it's just the quality's just not there. It's just not there.
Well, I got some bad news about that. Yesterday, we're recording on a Sunday afternoon, well, afternoon for me, evening for Taylor. Yesterday, Saturday morning, the club had an event for season ticket holders to go basically watch a practice. I had the opportunity, as many of you guys know, I'm a signed memorabilia hunter. Love that. And just like Taylor, I like to collect things about the clubs that I follow. I have plenty of stuff for Stevenage and Orlando. And the stuff for Stevenage is thanks to the club itself and friends that get that stuff for me. I have to go on a side quest. The listeners of this show already know how I am. The club sent me an official promotion picture from the club photographer last year, signed by the players, which I thought was a beautiful touch. And just like Taylor gets catered by the club and the fans, because they know he's far away. Stevenage fans treat me the same way, and so they sent a email last minute saying, "Oh, only 4 players are going to be available." I'm like, I gotta get up early Saturday morning. It's gonna be super hot. People were telling, we were saying that it was like 2,000 degrees out there. So I believe it. I take it. I mean, I'm in my son's room right now with the fan blasting and the air conditioning, and I can feel the heat coming out of the window. And so and it turned out to be different. All the players were signing on and stuff like that. Anyhow, the point is that people were saying that Muriel looked in practice the same way he looks on game day, and that the one player that was a standout is Ramiro Enrique. Ramiro Enrique, to me, a guy that comes from a very tough pedigree. His father's a world champion in 1986 with Argentina. He has not lived up to his father's level, and this happens all the time. That's why I was concerned with like Messi's kids, Ronaldo's kids. Just because who your father is doesn't mean squat. In sports, and Ramiro Enrique really has a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove that he can do it, and they were saying the guy was like a bad penny everywhere. And uh, to me, it's concerning, Taylor, that Luis, for it could be the system, could be the league, could be that the age is catching up with him. I certainly know I'm not the man that I was 20 years ago. And last, it could be a barrage of different things,
Mm.
but he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. To quote our good friend Cleon, who a couple of years back in his show Orlando Lions Den podcast said something. I was there when he said it, and it has stuck with me, and I quote him every single time because, in my opinion, it was a stroke of genius what he said. That a DP, a designated player, should be
Mm.
3 things: a starter, a game changer, and a goal scorer.
Yeah.
Right now, Luis has 2 goals in 16 games. Uh, Ramiro, I'm sorry, uh, Facundo Torres has 2, one from the spot, baptized the ugliest goal in history
That
for
was
the year at least.
that was ugly.
And oh my god, it was horrible. And the other one is
Oh, hey.
O'Hara, yeah, who has 0 assists and 0 goals this season. Is mostly a, a bench player. So we have fumbled the bag on the DPs, especially when you see Miami and Atlanta and all these
Yeah.
other teams doing great with their DPs, and LAFC, a team that has DPs on fire, that are not going to take it easy on us. One other thing I wanted to ask you, Taylor, is from your perspective, how impactful is the manager to the operation of the club, to the performance of the club, and finally to the end result, which is winning games?
Yeah, he's absolutely fundamental. And I think what we're all experiencing right now is that he's running out of answers. The thing I wanted to raise on this pod tonight is the thing I've noticed from the just pick the last two games, fire away, Red Bulls away, 2 game road streak. We started the season with our familiar shape, the 4-2-3-1. Oscar Perez had that, past couple of seasons. We've now gone to this three at the back system that started at Philadelphia Union. We stuck with it because we managed to grab a win there. A few things went our way. Probably the most excited I've been all season. The last 2 games, we've been switching from, you can call it, it's been so many changes, you can call it different formations. What it's looked like to me is a 4-1-3-2 or sometimes a 4-3-2-1. And you can see, you said there, Oscar Pereira, Pappy, the guy in charge, he's throwing stuff at a wall right now and seeing what sticks, and nothing is sticking. And I am at the point now where I'm wondering, is another voice required? I did laugh on OC Twitter this week gone. Someone put their political spectrum of of the Orlando City.
We'll talk about that.
That actually made me laugh a lot. In a rubbish season, that made me laugh a lot. Like we weren't on there, because we're not a podcast, like I said. But it really made me laugh. But I do want to speak on where I'm at on that timeline, to be honest with you, because what I'm trying to say is you can be grateful. You can be firstly, you can be critical of the team and still support the team. This stupid age of social media where like you've got to be this side, you've got to be that side. I've been highly critical. If you've read all of my write-ups, I've been highly critical in every single one of my write-ups this season. I've still support the team 110%. So that's the first thing. 2, second main point is that it's okay to want to strive to better. The supporters who want, who say this is not good enough and want better, that's absolutely fine. The people that still believe this guy is the right man, fine, you're entitled to your opinion. Where I'm at is that I'm not seeing any change week on week on week. And I love Oscar. Like I said, I've met the guy personally, as David has. Great guy. Will always forever be appreciative for his tenure and what he's done for the club, taking us from being complete, also Rams to a legitimate team. But I'm not seeing any progression this season. David just listed the 3 DPs there. Martin Ojeda, a guy that when we signed him, was one of the top players in the Argentine Premier Division. Luis Muriel, go on Wikipedia, look at how many goals he's scored in Europe, right? Facundo Torres just missed out on the Uruguay squad, so we'll have him around. Do we even want him around in the form he's in? Seriously, you're playing at left wing back for a reason, because you've not been doing it at the top of the field. But these aren't rubbish players. Despite what we've seen, these aren't rubbish players. We saw us win 11 games in the back end of last season. These aren't rubbish players. So I'm just wondering now if they need a new voice. And that's what's going to be really, well, I say it's going to be interesting to see. I don't see Oscar leaving before the end of the season. Moosey's his guy. He's worked with him, at Dallas. They're like that. They've brought a lot of success to this team, the Open Cup. But I see the Wilf family have been pretty hands off since they've been in charge. I think they're going to let him just see this season out. But the football is boring. It's one-dimensional. And this is from me. I'm not a happy clapper. I'm not happy at all at the moment. And we should be striving for more. We should.
Yeah.
Your eyes don't lie. It's not been pretty this year, and the fact we've chopped and changed formations so much says to me that, like I said, I can't say it any better way than we're throwing stuff at a wall at the moment and seeing what sticks, because nothing has worked. But really, if you really drill down into it, what is the other change from last season to this? I know David's going to talk about Bazan moving on.
Jose Basan, yeah. Who, by the way, if I may interrupt you there for a minute, has moved to, get ready for it, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, Pumas. That's the name of the team. So Pumas is where he's at, and being very successful, by the way. But it's the one thing, and once again, Cleon with the smoking gun, he said, the only thing that I can think of, he said it on Twitter, and it took over like wildfire. The one thing that nobody's talking about is the fact that the person that crafted our offense all these years is no longer there, and
Mm.
magically we're not scoring goals. Go ahead, Taylor.
That's one of the things that changed. I think, when we're in the mess we're in at the moment, it's a good exercise is to look at the things that have changed, because we finished second in the Supporters' Shield last season, not 5 years ago, last season. So that's one. He's lost, some attacking ingenuity. His right-hand man gone. Robin Janssen as well, a player, on my jersey from a couple of years ago. Great servant for the club so far. 5 yellow cards, all for dissent, all for back chatting, gets himself banned. That's not what a leader does. There's so he's not got Antonio Carlos next to him. Okay, fine. But the front office go and bring in, an esteemed international, an international that's going to Euro 2024 next week with Slovenia in Bracalo. These players are good enough to figure it out, but they're not. We've got a talented pool of players, so much so that we've not got a lot of love from MLS over the years. Who cares? If I love our team, I don't need other people from MLS.com to like them. But we got to a point where they were saying, no, this squad is good enough. So our players aren't rubbish. We're now 16 games down, have gone from a 4-2-3-1 to now this three at the back and wing backs and interchange. Nothing's working. Is it the head coach? We saw Atlanta do it. We know they're an ambitious club. We don't like them, but they're an ambitious club. They got rid of Pineda last week. They're what? They're below us.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
we might take a bit of glee and Atlanta are down there, but what are we doing? We're not doing much better than them. So I don't know, man. To sum it up, I think Pereira sees out 2024. I think he'll see it out no matter how bad it gets. But should that be the case, really?
Mhm.
Because can you go from being many people's supporters' shield, the team elect to win the supporters' shield, to being where we are? I think there's got to be better accountability for that. I'm not saying fire him tomorrow. No one, believe me, no one wants it more than for him to figure it out. I sat there last season, having not reached the point of I've had enough. I just had faith in him that he would turn it around, and he did. I didn't go on social media and go, "I told you so." I was just happy for the team. We want the team to succeed, right? And I think that's this mid-season. David always gets me on mid-season. Has the team improved from last season? No. Is our squad talented? Yes, I still believe it is. So why is it not? Why is it not happening? And if you want to get to the top, if you want to be a top team in Major League Soccer, it's not no happy clapping, no whatever. We deserve a good product on the field, and we're not seeing it. We have not seen it this season, and it hurts. That's why I'm on David. In this bye week, it hurts. I want us to put it right, but I've not been inspired by anything I've seen this season in the slightest. The most excited I've got was the Philadelphia win. Galassi saved the
Right.
penalty. And he's the other one. I've just remembered, just as I speak it out now, Galassi. What the hell is that? I don't believe that's him. That I do not believe that is the same guy that we've seen in net the past couple of years. He can't catch anything. I take no glee in kind of dressing down, singling out players, but everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Have they just got fed up of Oscar's voice? Have they got fed up of his vision? Do they not see it anymore? I don't know, but 4 wins out of 16, and you look at those wins as well. The Philadelphia one, they could have got something. We got away with it. We did dig deep. The San Jose one, the Austin one, man, we haven't had a convincing win at all. And like I said, this is our 10th season in Major League Soccer. Now we've been through tough times, all of us, but this team is not a bad team. I really believe that. I don't suddenly wake up sometimes and think, well, we say these players are better than what they are.
Hmm.
And I don't think they are. We've just had nine players called up internationally still, despite our season. So there's talent, but it's just not being coached, may I say, in the right way this season. It's just
No,
not.
absolutely.
It's
And
not.
in order to talk about that, I usually have spoken about, it was 30 years ago this June that 18-year-old David graduated high school and turned on his TV. And for the first time in my life, I watched top quality football 24/7 on TV when the U.S. hosted the 1994 World Cup. And it's what made me a fan because luck have it, I joined the Navy that year. And then by 1996, I'm deployed overseas, Southern Europe, the Middle East, Northern Africa. And I had opportunities where we pull into port with our partners in NATO. And I said many times in bars with members of the Royal Navy. And, I'm so thankful for those guys that took a minute to answer the questions from an American kid that just wanted to know about the sport. It would have been easy to say it's not your sport, get out of here, whatever. But they took the time to explain that to me, the passion and everything. And when I returned from that deployment, MLS was born. To be a MLS fan in those early years was very difficult if you didn't live in the city where the team played. A lot of people treated it as something that eventually was going to die, was going to go away, and thankfully that hasn't. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about that if that would have been the case. But with that said, let's go to something that binds us together. That is a great example of what good managers can do and what happens to them eventually. So let's go to that little town of Stevenage in Hertfordshire for a minute. Stevenage 2 seasons ago was finding itself having fired two managers that season, 7 games left, and facing relegation to the National League. And now I know that a lot of Americans understand the difficulty of getting relegated from the EFL and returning, thanks to the show Welcome to Wrexham, where they see two millionaires pumping money into a team, bringing players League One level, and still failing to get out of the league until the following year, where they barely make it out of the league, thanks to the fact that they got the best out of their closest rival, Notts County, and they managed to get out of the league, and boom, they blew up League Two, and they're gonna be facing Stevenage in League One next year. So Steve Evans comes in. I still got my Steve Evans jersey from the boys from the East Terrace. Shout out to those guys. Like these people treat me like family, so I have to recognize them. And Steve Evans comes in, saves the team from relegation, and gets them promoted the next year. Pitch invasion, everybody crazy, blah blah blah, whatever. This year, Stevenage, for with the idea of automatic promotion, unfortunately hit a bad run of games and ends up out of the playoffs, and team freshly relegated from the championship steals Steve Evans away. And now we don't know what's going to happen next year. But to me, I am thankful to Steve because what he did was great. It's great for Steve and it's great for the fan base. Saved the team from humiliation and a sand pit that, quite honestly, is difficult to get out of. And so, what to bring it back to Orlando? A manager can definitely bring stability and can bring triumph and can bring glory. Oscar came in at a moment where it was our club was complete chaos.
Mm.
Anybody that lived through the 2018 season can't tell you that. Okay, we
God.
we we finished with 32 points. If we would have had tied every single game that season, we got 34 games. We would have ended up with 34 points. If you finish with less than 34 points in a season in MLS, it is a complete failure. And San Jose saved us from getting the wooden spoon that year by a long shot. That said, he brought us to the promised land. We have made playoffs every single year since he's been here. But in my opinion, what's making playoffs if we can't go all the way?
Right.
Twice we had the opportunity to go to the conference final, and we wasted the opportunity. In 2020, against New England, we gave up a silly penalty, and when we had the opportunity to tie the game, we chose to go with Nani, a player that wasn't that great from the spot, and who the goalkeeper for New England, whose name escapes my mind right now, which is in the national team right now.
Matt
Uh,
Turner.
Thank you. He just had his number, and if we would have gone to penalties, God knows what we'll be talking about now. And then obviously last year with the double yellow on Rodrigo Schlago, and I have said, Taylor, for many last year I was like, we have tried it, it doesn't work. He came back, and people are like, oh, I told you so. Okay, great, great. Now you can lift that invisible trophy. That is, I told David Valentin on Twitter that he's an idiot. Okay, so there's your trophy, guys. Enjoy it, cause anyhow. And then we come to this season, and I was like the biggest defender of Oscar by saying, hey, look, when we had the event, Taylor, I it was myself and Zach from OC Fan TV who asked the questions. Right before, it was like, "What's your favorite ice cream? Boxes or briefs? What's your favorite dish? What's your favorite restaurant?" And that's not the opportunity that is given to you. This is the opportunity to grill the steward of your club, because this belongs to us, ladies and gentlemen. It belongs to us. They are caretakers of the club, because without us, if the pandemic taught us anything, without us, it's just 22 men kicking a ball. There's no sense for all this without your money. Now your money is what finances this whole structure. And I finished, and at the end, I waited to the very end because I was afraid that Oscar was gonna be nasty towards me, or like, how dare you? Uh, the contrary, I came over to him, I extended my hand, and he like pushed it to the side and hugged me, like that, like a
Mm.
hug. And he spoke to my ear, and I was like, whoa! I left like, that's my manager, you know.
Goosebumps.
That's this my club,
Yeah, puffing your chest out. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. And if so, I wanted somebody to win is Oscar Pareja, because Oscar Pareja, the man, is incredible.
Yeah, he
But
is.
we are not judging him by his persona. We're judging him by results.
This is
And I the you spoke of the uh,
timeline.
chart. Yeah, the chart of right,
The
far right,
spectrum.
far left.
Spectrum.
I mean, the people on the right side, not surprised about that. Those are the podcasts that get the press passes, and they owe themselves a little bit to the club. And I'm not afraid to say I was participant of that. I didn't like it. I need to be myself. And the people on the far left, we have been very conservative. On the show, I am the loose cannon, the loud mouth, the person that needs to be controlled, needs to be talked down from the edge all the time. If For those that haven't met Ahmed and John personally, John, even though he's this large man that looks like can break your bones, he's a very soft spoken person, very delicate in the way he approaches
Yeah.
people. He just doesn't want to hurt people's feelings just because they have a different opinion. And Ahmed is also soft spoken and super nice and very methodical in the way he does things. And they balance me great, because if I was doing a show with three people like me, it would be a complete disaster. So with that said, so yeah, I finally, and I gotta tell you, Taylor, I'm sorry I'm monopolizing the microphone like this. And with this, we'll move on to the next topic. Um, when I knew that it was time to move on, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. I listened to the guys from Orlando Lions then, and Alex Brown felt the same way as me. When we were in the game, we were at the Hourglass Brewery, and they brought in Kyle Smith. Which, by the way, this has nothing to do with his quality. He has been a great servant of the club. He's a fantastic human being. Great CPA. That when he retires and starts his own business in this town, he will have more than plentiful of customers. He's a harbinger. He's sort of a white flag. Kyle Smith comes in. We're sealing the result. We are not doing anything else.
Yeah.
And there was a collective groan of the fan base that already understands. And one thing is to go to the stadium and listen to people, whatever. But these are people that are sort of the same,
Yeah.
wavelength as you. And I heard people, Taylor, four things that I came out of that event. Our fan base understands the game of football. This
Number
idea
one.
that,
Number
yeah,
one.
yeah, number one, our fan base understands what the game of football is. Why do they do that? They have study, they listen to podcasts, they listen to people like Taylor that can school a lot of people about what football is all about, including myself. And over the years, they have understood what works, what doesn't, and what creates great football over just run of the mill football. Number two, there are people that already understand their club. They already know the ins and outs of all the players. And after 5 years with Oscar, they understand Oscar probably better than Oscar understands himself. Third, the fan base after 10 seasons in MLS is thirsty and hungry to put a star above their crest. They have seen other teams with less years in the league to do that. Atlanta, LA, New York City, who came into the league with us. And last but not least, they want more. They feel that with billionaire ownership, that should happen. I had an opportunity to speak briefly with Mark Wilf. Great guy. I knew Mark Wilf from his involvement in the North American Jewish Federation. He's a man that says and does. And I know a lot of people are judging the Vikings as a reason why they don't spend money. But the reality is that his cousin is the one that is in charge of the presidency of that club. Orlando City is Mark's baby. So yeah. So I mean, those things happening. The question that I was going to ask you, Taylor, is Oscar Pareja, and to conclude that topic before we move to the next one. You said that they're gonna give him the season. I agree with you. I don't think that they're gonna be firing him anytime soon. But does he have a 2025 if we fail to make the playoffs?
Do I think he fails to make the playoffs this season?
Well, let's say, okay, let's put it that. Do you think that we fail? Because statistically, if you're not in playoff position, I'm not saying that. The statistics, the numbers, the history say, just like if you have 50 points, you are guaranteed a spot on at the end of the season. This year, okay, we're not there, we're not even close to that. But the statistically says that in June 1st, if you're not in a playoff position, you're not making the playoffs. Do you think that we make playoffs? And if we fail to make playoffs, do you think that Oscar returns in 2025?
I actually, right at this very moment, I don't think we make playoffs this season. I think it's going to be the first season we don't make playoffs under Pappy. He signed a new deal at the beginning of this season through to the end of next season. I think there would be a change at the end of the season, or I'd like to think so. Anyway, that collective groan you spoke about at the end of that great event, may I add, I watched very enviously from this side of the pond last week. It was a horrible game against Red Bulls. Not anything good to say about it, but my good friend David and all of the rest of the Orlando family over there, who I love, look to have a great time, great event. That collective groan you spoke about, I just wonder how close of an ear, the Wilf family and the other, high up people in this club have of that groan. I think they do. I think they do know it is there. The fact they put on the open training this week, PR event, kind of, smooth over relations. The team's not been doing great, let's get. I think they do know, but in fact, Moosey's there as Oscar's guy as well. I just feel they wouldn't make for me, the next home game, LAFC, I think that's an LAFC win. They've won their past 5 games without conceding a goal. Let's be honest. Even if we bring our A game, Denny Buanga will still probably get a couple goals in that game. Call me pessimistic. I've not seen anything to suggest that we'll do anything otherwise at the moment, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. Um, this kind of infighting we have. Football's a passionate game. It's a game of opinions. You've got David one side. You've got other podcasts the other side. Me, as I've said tonight, I was very much happy to let Oscar play out last season. He turned it round. I wasn't saying, "Ha, told you so." I was just happy that my team, had turned the corner. Team first all of the time. This season, I'm very close now to saying we need a change. If not, I'm there already. Kind of, I don't even know if I've admitted it to myself yet because I love Oscar, but I really am trying to detach the man from what I'm seeing on the field, and what I'm seeing on the field is not good enough. I mean, I'm segueing here, but we've had Kyle Smith, as you said, coming on to, see out a 1-0, what to prevent a 2-0. Kyle Smith has played in defensive midfield. Facu Torres has played as a left wing back. Cartagena is now a centre back. I mean, nobody saw any of these things. Nobody could have called any of those things at the beginning of the season. The fact that, Kyle Smith can suddenly be a midfielder now, Cartagena can be as I said, I keep coming back to it, throwing stuff at a wall, seeing what sticks, smacks to me like a manager who's desperate. And I love the guy, but he's desperate right now. But this squad's good enough to figure it out. I think we're leaning towards a place where another manager maybe could get, but just be privy to that idea that another voice, another head coach could be getting more than what we see at the moment. We want to see our side win. We want to see our side competitive. I remember how I felt, after that game in Fort Lauderdale, first road game of the season. I could barely watch. I was humiliated. And then we had another team I detest. Can't stand anything that club stands for compared to what we stand for. Built, not bought, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember how I felt after that. The two that did it for me, I laughed in not I'm taking any joy out of it. I laughed at a complete and utter humiliation, embarrassment. Cincinnati for me, the lowest point. 1 minute, under 1 minute, Lucho Acosta. Every time this side has been okay, every team goes through rough moments. Let's put it behind us. Let's move on. We can't. We can't, no matter if we change the formation, no matter if we try Kyle Smith. It's not going to get easier as well. Like I said, okay, Torres and Araujo, I tweeted about it this morning when this goes out, so the Sunday. Those guys are not going to the Copa America with Uruguay. Why aren't they going? Because Marcelo Bielsa has decided, well, on your league form, you've not performed well enough. The Uruguay squad is no joke. It's a hard squad to get into. They played a friendly against Mexico in Colorado, but they didn't make the cut. We can all celebrate, oh, we're not losing those guys. Those guys haven't been in form anyway, and now they're suffering the disappointment of not making their national team. We are in desperate need right now of some positivity, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. And what I'm interested in, I'll watch the games. I love this club, so I'll watch the games. I'll never, give up on this side. I'll still be rooting to try and get a win. But what I'm watching is how in tune are the front office and the big dogs who make the big decisions at our club with that collective groan. Is there going to be any action on that? Because at the end of the day, if our whole second half of the season is like our first half, 4 wins out of 16, you sneak into the wildcard game, so what? Do you back us to win a wildcard game at the moment? I don't. It's not good enough.
And Taylor, if we win if we win the wild card game, if we win, big if,
big if,
we most likely we're gonna be facing Inter Miami. They finish first.
Yeah,
So
and we've proved we can't. We got a draw at home. We didn't score against them.
Right, we go down there, we lose 5-0, and
There's no chance.
that's it. That's it. They will always bring that up, and it will be an international humiliation because the rest of the world's gonna watch that.
Yeah,
So
and
with that, but I want to talk to you about something that you have experienced. This year, our club, if Taylor, if you are on LinkedIn, you should follow our front office personnel on LinkedIn and our club, because it's like a different world, because they post a lot of business type of things. And if you are a sicko like me, I love statistics, I love memorabilia, and I also love the business side
yeah,
of
me too.
football. I have said it before. I missed my opportunity. I would have been I would have been a trainer, a kit man, a pitch man. I mean, I would have loved to have worked in football had it been an opportunity for me. At the time, if I think I was born 10 years too soon, but had I had the opportunity, that's what I probably would have done. And I have said it on the show. My nephew Daniel wants to be a referee, and I encourage him. While other people were like, "What? That's insane." He loves the game and he wants to be a ref. On all sorts of sports, he just says, I just want to be part of the game, make it fair, Uncle David, and it brings me a lot of happiness. And I have posted pictures of him with us when we go to the games. And anyhow, this year, our club has won four awards and I have seen it. The quality of it will be interesting when you come back, Taylor. Since I believe the last time you were here was for the Open Cup win, right?
It was. I've not been back in a long time. I miss it.
Yeah,
I miss it, but I'm growing. For everyone who's wondering, Taylor used to come all the time. I'm growing. Responsibilities of
right.
age.
You're married with the right. Thank you. I mean, come on now, look at me. That's why my friends from Stevenage are like, just jump on an airplane and go. I'm like, I got sick.
And
Uh,
this and this is it. And I'm glad you set me up for that. Actually, because for any guys that it's not because we're having a bad season. I would be there like that. You get older.
mhm.
When I started Orlando City UK 7 years ago, I had less responsibilities. I'm getting older. I'm
Yeah,
getting
man, I
older.
hear you,
So,
brother. I know. And if the kids come, that's a different subtle sort of things
right.
that happen.
I
So
digress. I stole the mic from you. I stole the mic from you.
yeah, man. Yeah, no, that's fine, brother. But it's cool that yeah. I mean, we've known each other for 9 years already. I mean, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can tell you as someone that just celebrated 18 years of marriage back in March, it's difficult, like, would I love to spend all my money on football and be like, I'm gonna throw him out. Our good friend Mike Gutera, who like basically goes to every away game. You met
Great,
him in Montreal,
great guy.
and he has that blessing because he's an empty nester, and he has that freedom to do that. I got two teenagers. I can just go and my wife is not the football nut that I am, so forget about it. Okay. So what I was saying is that this year, the club is one of the few clubs that has over 80% attendance. As bad as the club has been,
Mm,
the stands are jam packed. Obviously, that's thanks to the results last year. You've been to the Lamex, the home of the Stevenage, 3 games this season, well, this past season, right?
yes.
And before the place was a cemetery, and you got to go to a stadium, especially the East Terrace, which is the I guess the
The
counterpart to
wall.
the Bowl.
The wall.
Right, it's jam packed, loud. The club managed to build that north stand that is beautiful, and it's packed. Started very empty, and the west side with the older generation that can't I think in football you graduate right
Yes.
at Interco. It will be you start on the wall, then you go with the families to the East Club.
Yeah.
Then you get to the more affordable West Club, to the more affordable South Side, and then you end up late in life when you have more money on the West Club, right? That's how it starts. And also we have seen at the Lamex that the South Side, which is the away end, because in English football we segregate the fan bases, which is smart. I think maybe in the United States we haven't reached the level of fandom where that's necessary. Maybe a good thing, a bad thing, I don't know. but a lot of away fans enjoy coming to Stevenage game away, and so you got to experience that pride in the club because of the winning, right? I was wondering if you could speak about that, and also if you see any correlation with what you get to see on the screen when you watch Orlando City games.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I've been surprised because we know, and American listeners, they won't be offended by this. The American system, you know, there's way more casual fans, supporters than there
Mhm.
are at any level of the game in England. A club like Stevenage, David loves, my hometown. The people who turn up to that game, turn up to those games. They're die hard. Because there's so many. London's right there. They could support a Premier League team. People that turn up to Stevenage are there because they want to be. I've actually been pleasantly surprised with the attendance figures this season. I would have expected, we finished second in the Supporters' Shield last season, reached the playoffs again. We've seen the attendance really, really dwindle over the past couple of years. I thought it would have been happening again. For some reason, it's not. So, credit to, the marketing and, who's putting bums on seats. From that standpoint, it's good that, our players have had a crowd there to try and roar us on. But I'm segueing again, but I'm at a point now where I look forward to away games more than home games because I know that we're more resilient on the road, and I don't think that's right either. So I remember when I first kind of got enamored with Orlando and they entered Major League Soccer, and I thought, wow, you see David's fan spinning now. All of the other Major League Soccer teams, they'll hate to come to Orlando. With the heat, the humidity, the wall, packed crowd. How intimidating! I think it's quite embarrassing that this place still isn't a fort. We've called it a fortress, in
Mhm.
marketing terms
Yeah,
over the.
yeah.
Still to answer David's question, there's still a substantial enough crowd, over 80% there this season, and what we beat Austin at home, and that's it. That cannot be that cannot be the way at all. Um, when a club's winning in America, it puts more bums on seats. It puts more casuals bums on seats. The diehards will always be there. David will always be there. The guys on the wall, the guys who were at Hourglass Brewing last weekend will always be there. But that's another thing for the front office to think of. This crowd, it will be at 80%, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's been at over 80% this season because the soccer's just not been good enough. It's just not
Absolutely.
been. It's not been entertaining. If you want to come and see any team come in there and play Orlando City off the park, and you get joy out of that, then so be it. But we've not been enjoying it. But if we don't show any progression, any signs of moving up the east, we're really struggling. That crowd will dwindle, and I think
Mhm.
it's those kind of things that, like I said, that collective groan that I keep coming back to. I think the club are aware. I think they know that Oscar's seat's getting hotter by the game. Will they fire him? I don't think so. I don't think they'll do what Atlanta did, and fair play to Atlanta. They've said no, this isn't good enough for us, and that's what we're wrangling with. It's like, yeah, if they do it, why aren't we doing anything? But I think they're aware. But it's the things of kind of, when you can see the Orlando letters on the far side, like we have the past couple of years, because people aren't just showing up. I think it's those kind of things where the Wolves start looking at it and others think, yeah, this yeah is not where we want to be. So we're going to have to see how it plays out. Me or David have no crystal ball right now. But even say this, even if we went on a winning streak as we've proven to do before, like I said, 11 wins the back end of last season. It was incredible. We just went into those games the back end of last season with a completely different mindset to what it is right now. Even if we make a late run and get into the playoffs, of course, it can result in ultimate glory. But really, I think if you're, David said it right at the beginning of this pod, the comeback's going to come any time now. I've even slipped into that mentality. We've done it before. I don't think it is this season. I think you'd be really reaching if you thought it's all just going to click, because I'm so concerned right now. You will read it in my LAFC preview that will come out this week, as we always do before the game. Really long piece. I've started writing longer pieces now this season, where I look back at the previous head-to-head, the previous game,
Mhm.
what's at stake this time, and really try and dissect where the team's at match day to match day. And if you read it, you'll see I'm really concerned right now about where this team's heading, and yet our expectations are high nowadays, and it's okay for them to be high. I don't think we should accept mediocrity. Is my message.
Absolutely. So to switch gears, to wrap it up, what's the feeling with the Orlando City UK support so far? What you can tell us. Also, one of the things that I pleasantly have noticed is the amount of British fans at the games. There's a lot of people that they just make it part of their holiday, which is great. I they buy merch, they enjoy the game. I have never heard anything negative. When people find out all these guys visiting, they like take them under their wing, and they try to show them a good time. In fact, for staff at the stadium or merchants to hear a British accent when they're speaking to people. It's not a shock anymore. It's
Yeah,
just part of doing business, and I'm very proud of that because like you said, the British fan has an expectation of great football. To once again hammer Stevenage one more time, Stevenage is at a close distance to Arsenal. That's where most of the people that live in Stevenage support on the EPL.
I
But
mean
yeah,
Arsenal's my team. I mean
yeah,
I'm the living example of that.
absolutely, and but then again, they also have other offerings within short distance, and if you live near London, Manchester, or Birmingham, you basically have your pick of who you want to support. It's a cultural thing from very little to basically from crib to the grave, I should say. And when they come, I think it would be fair to say, oh well, this is not up to the quality I'm used to. This seems very foreign. But I took my friend Steve Gates from Steven, somebody that I knew from social media. I never met him personally. He just happened to be in town, and managed to get us tickets because it would have been impossible. They were like
Yeah,
super exorbitant. And when I went to pick him up, he already had bought himself the
nice.
the away jersey. He was ready to go. We
Yeah,
went there, and the man couldn't stop talking about the experience and everything. And he's like, when I get back, I'm gonna plan my holiday next year to include as many games as possible.
yeah,
And it wasn't like I was trying to sell it to the team. And I think that
yeah,
the fans themselves here in Orlando try to be welcoming, but at the same time, it brings me great joy to see that organically without forcing it. It translates that you love football, I love football. I'm one of those people that say more football, less wars. I mean, quite honestly, that will be that's what I preach. One piece in the world, throw a
yes.
ball into the middle of 22 minutes and make it happen. So I'm sorry, I went on a tangent, Taylor. So how's Orlando City on the British Isles at the moment?
This side of the pond, yeah. Well, I'm really glad to hear straight away that you're still getting a steady stream of Brits at the games. Obviously we're coming into the summer season now. So
Mhm.
despite the Florida heat, I'm not brave enough. Whenever I come to Florida, I'm not brave enough to come June or July. But I mean, you get over 1 million Brits vacation in Orlando every year. So. I see it, on a monthly basis. A lot of guys, oh, I want to get to a game, want to go to an Orlando City game. How do I get a ticket? How do I get there? Is it best to get an Uber? People ask us all of the time. So, despite the club's fortunes this season, you're always going to get that British interest. I mean, hell, look at us. We're part of that as well. And I've always taken on a role as a kind of unofficial ambassador. We are fortunately officially affiliated with the club, but I've always taken it upon myself over the last 7 years to answer anybody's questions, get them to the games because the experience is amazing. And the last time I was over, it was the Open Cup. our greatest night as an MLS club. And I pine for it all of the time to be there because the experience is still amazing. Because our supporters are amazing, right? And they're having to put up a lot this season because the
Mhm.
product on the field is not matching all of the great stuff that Orlando City is off the field. But yeah, we still, despite the results this season, I'll say this, we still have our loyal supporters, our members staying up, watching the games. They're still as invested as they've always been. No, tell a lie. There has been a drop off. There has been a drop off compared to those early years, but there's definitely. I have members, that still if even if I can't watch a game on a Saturday, I'll still see my WhatsApp pinging off into the early hours of a Sunday morning, So there's still a thirst, there's still a hunger for Orlando City this side of the pond. I've not lost any of my passion at all. Orlando City's my escapism. I love it.
Mhm.
Arsenal is my team in this country. Orlando City, my passion for them has come up like that, over the years. I'm honestly like that now. And it hurts, this season. It's been therapeutic. We're not where we want to be, but it's been therapeutic chatting with David tonight, trying to figure out, where things have gone wrong. But yeah, like everyone wants us to do it. We're 10 years in now. And the thing for me was I was really making plans to come over for MLS Cup. I really did have a feeling like last year was going to be our time, but it wasn't to be. David's catchphrase, you all say it, football's a sport not for the faint-hearted. It's the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
beautiful game at times and the most cruel game others.
It
I'm paraphrasing you right now.
cruel and unpredictable. Yeah.
Cruel and
Battle
unpredictable.
talent and an ounce of luck. I mean,
That's
we
it.
say it all the time.
That's
And
it.
with that, Taylor, where can people find you? Those that, for some reason, are new to the fan base, perhaps people from the UK that will find this video or this audio, and have an interest. Where can they find you on the social media, and how can they join Orlando City UK?
Sure. So I'm most active on X, Twitter. I'm not going to
Hmm.
call it X. Who calls it X? Twitter will always be Twitter to me at Orlando_City UK. We do all of our tweeting there. Our website is where we do all of our match previews. Our match previews are what we add to the Orlando City community. I'm a stats man, as is David is. So that's where we break down every fixture with stats, with my kind of own individual take on what I see from the games. So you can check all of those out at weareorlandocityuk.com. And as I say, read our LAFC preview because it's been a bye week. I've really dissected everything from the last 2 weeks, all the international call ups, what we saw at Red Bulls, which was not a lot. It's all in there. Have a read of that. That will be out on Thursday. And if you want to become a member, as I say, we're in the middle of vacation season now. If you're going over to a game already, message us. We'll tell you which bars to go to. We'll tell you the best places to sit in the stadium. Where you can get merch, etc., etc., etc. Message us on Twitter. And if you want to become an Orlando City UK member, we still have our memberships. You'll get a nice T-shirt. It's basically purple like this with a giant lion instead of the Ralph Lauren tonight. But yeah, just message me. But yeah, man, I'm so eager to turn this season round. What will be will be. We can only control the controllables, but that's where you
Yeah.
can find me.
To quote Dennis Bergkamp, and I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit. You don't follow a club for the wins or for who plays there or for the championships. You simply follow it because you have found a place there, a place where you belong. And that's that.
Amen.
To me, that's what football should be, my friend. I keep saying it. It sounds like a cliche, but what are the odds of me and Taylor becoming friends? We're an ocean apart. It's the football, just like Steve and many other friends. Kevin, many other friends. Me following Stevenage, many friends from England that have gone to games. Kai and Callum. I don't want to forget anybody. If I have, please forgive me. And to me, this is what turns down the stereotypes, the caricatures that we may have of each other. It's just the beautiful game, and we lose or draw, we do it together. That's what I have tried to say to people. And if I may take a serious note right now, there's some people in our fan base that I know personally that are not having a great time. And I want to say to those folks that if you do, please reach out to a fellow Orlando City fan, family member, clergy. And I know that sometimes we put a lot of our personal happiness into to the sports. And I have to tell you that as much as I love Orlando City, you gotta remember that the result is not gonna doesn't need to influence your life. And I know of somebody very very dear to the fan base that um, it's not having the best of moments, and I just want to say to that person that we love you and that we care about you, and that there's always next year. There's always next year. There's always next game or next play, and we're together. If you're an Orlando City fan by yourself in your living room, or you are at the stadium on the wall, you are not alone. You never will be.
We're a
Uh,
family.
yeah, absolutely, my friend. And like I said, it's and another thing, because I know that I'm not the person to speak about this, because I'm the poster child for the bad guy for some segment of our fan base. The reality is that, like Taylor said today, having an opinion and wishing better results does not equal losing support for the club, or wanting the club to do bad because you want this and that and the other. Podcasts are opportunities for people to showcase their opinions, and you can disagree or can agree with them. But at the end of the day, well, the one thing that all fans agree with 100% is that we want to see Orlando Purple Hands lift the next trophy. And I know, Taylor knows, and everybody else knows that that's the goal every year. And it's peak and valleys, baby, peak and valleys, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Maybe not next year, but the one after. So Taylor, I want to thank you, my friend, for taking the time. We're gonna book in this conversation with Dan next Sunday, the English Lion. Right now, we're hopeful because we want to see our team win against LAFC. Maybe next Sunday, I will be here with a box of Kleenex, and who knows about that. So we'll see. But Taylor will be returning with us at the end of the season with Dan, to obviously, talk about how the season, whatever happened with it, ended up being, and our expectations for 2025. For those that have never watched this, well, this show is live on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Orlando time, and I'm there with my friend Ahmed and John talking about Orlando City. We are on Instagram, on live on X on Mondays, on live on Facebook, live on Twitch. We're on TikTok. We're on Threads. We're on Blue Sky as at on the Capo Stand. You can listen to this show on audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can watch us live or later as you wish at David's Channel 76 on YouTube. Final words, Taylor, before we say goodbye.
Final words. Come on, let's turn this round. We can do it. We can do it, but I'm losing faith rapidly. I'm all out of positivity at the moment. But let's
I
do
hear
it.
you. I hear you, my friend. So tomorrow we will be recording our show as usual, talking about the preview against LAFC. So hopefully you guys will be joining us. So this week you get an extra treat, as you will. So we will say goodbye as the only way we know how, by reminding everybody that football is cruel and unpredictable, that football is played on grass, not on paper, that football is a pound of talent and an ounce of luck. And if you have never cried for joy or anger over football, have you really football? From Taylor and myself, may God bless you. And as always, vamos,
Vamos.
Orlando!